Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for all coming and being here on time this morning. It is an exciting day. You guys have worked 7 weeks to put together a report for this class and for the event research. So I'm looking forward to some really exciting presentations. Our first group up at 8 a.m. group, nice and bright and early, is Kyla, Alice, and Heather. So hi, guys. How are you?
Morning. Good. How are you, Ron?
Good. So anyway, it's over to you. So you have 15 minutes and there's a 5-minute grace period between each presentation. I ask that everybody stay on the line to the end because at the end I'll be announcing who the winner is of the research project. Okay?
Oh, cool.
Yes. So over to you. Good luck.
All right. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you and your families are all staying safe during this time of isolation. My name is Kyla, and here with me today I have my partners, Alice and Heather, and we will be presenting our market research project that focuses on Nuit Blanche Toronto. Sorry. On our agenda today, we'll be going over our problem and research question, how we gathered our data to prove or disprove our hypothesis, and why this is an interest to our target reader. After that, we'll be going into explain our primary and secondary data, and ending off with our recommendations and conclusions. Introduction. Nuit Blanche is an annual all-night art festival that is currently one of Toronto's highest driving economy events. This contemporary art festival transforms Toronto streets and public areas into an art gallery filled with modern installations, live performances, and other creative programs. From sunset to sunrise, Nuit Blanche Toronto offers free admission to experience this transformation made by Canadian and international artists. The problem. Violence and substance abuse are known to occur at Nuit Blanche Toronto, but have they in fact actually affected the future success and public appeal of the event? Let's find out. Through the use of several qualitative and quantitative research methods, the data collected has helped address whether the event actually suffers negative publicity and lower attendance rates. The two research questions we have developed are the topic question being, does the substance abuse and violence reduce the appeal/perception of Nuit Blanche as well as affect the number of attendees during the event? Our secondary question is, should Nuit Blanche have more restrictions and precautions in place to reduce public violence and substance abuse during event hours? Why is this an interest to our target readers? Well, this is an interest of our target readers because we are conducting research to determine if Nuit Blanche's current and potential attendees have affected the public violence and substance abuse during the event hours. With these findings, they can help identify the best techniques and strategies to create a safer environment, as well as assess whether previous offenses have affected the perception of the event and the level of attendance. Approach and methodology. The approach taken to collect data consists of two forms of primary and secondary. The primary data collected consists of a qualitative interview with a previous Nuit Blanche representative and a quantitative research survey conducted via SurveyMonkey. This research survey was shared throughout multiple social media platforms, including, but not limited to, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The secondary approach consists of from Global Mail and Bridge Magazine. Now that I've gone over what Nuit Blanche is, the problem, our research question, and our approach, I'll be passing it over to Heather and Alice to analyze our primary and secondary data.
Thank you very much, Kyla, for opening us up. So through our quantitative research that we carried out on SurveyMonkey, we created a persona. So everybody say hi to Jane Doe.
Hello, Jane Doe.
All right, so Jane Doe is 24 years old and she is currently living in the city of Toronto. Her household income ranges from $50,000 to $100,000 annually, and she usually attends 1 to 2 Toronto events a year, one of course being Nuit Blanche. She has attended multiple years and feels Nuit Blanche does provide a safe environment for the attendees and the artists populations. Jane is very aware, however, that substance abuse is part of the Nuit Blanche culture, and she too has participated in substance abuse, however, has never brought her own. Jane has never witnessed any violent occurrences happening during the event and believes that it is no different than other annual Toronto events. She also believes that Nuit Blanche can, however, improve as an event by having a higher security presence to help with crowds and decrease violent offenses that the event has been previously known for. That's Jane, everybody. Say goodbye to Jane.
Hi, Jane.
So now we're going to be pulling some actual data from our SurveyMonkey quantitative research method. So this first chart that we pulled is asking respondents what they would change about Nuit Blanche to actually provide a safer environment. So if you look at the chart, a total of 71% of respondents do believe that if the event hired more security, the event would provide a safer environment. So I gather these numbers, if you look at the dark blue, we can see that that bar represents higher security, and the light blue bar represents all of the above. So 35.4% said hire more security outright, and the other 35.6% selected all of the above, accumulating to 71% agreeing that a higher security presence would better the event. Throughout the years of Nuit Blanche, there have been multiple violent incidents that have been highly publicized, which many of our respondents may or may not be aware of. Our next quantitative chart we're going to look at was question 16 of our survey. So this question is important as it asks respondents if they feel substance use, including alcohol, marijuana, illegal narcotics, is in fact a part of the culture at Nuit Blanche. So right away, as you can see on our graph, that a massive portion say yes, substance abuse is a large part of the culture. To be exact, that's 76% of respondents who have attended the event. So due to the nature of the event, the public is essentially free to do what they'd like to do. This includes substance use being a massively clearly defined part of the culture at Nuit Blanche. Here we have two charts. So these side-by-side quantitative charts pulled from SurveyMonkey are regarding hearing about violent occurrences on the left and witnessing violence occurrences on the right. So it came out nearly 50-50 for hearing about violent occurrences at the event. 57% said they are aware and have heard about violent occurrences, whereas 57% say they are unaware and 43% say they are aware. Secondly, by applying a filter on SurveyMonkey to see the respondents of only those who have attended, we can see that 86% of the respondents who have attended the event have not seen a violent act occur, while 14% responded they have. 14% was still a surprising amount as the event does pull in a massive population. So it was exciting to see that stat. Now we're going to move on. So this leads into question 21 of our survey, which was one of our final questions and one of the most important. So this question asked respondents if they would attend or volunteer knowing that substance use occurs at Nuit Blanche, as well as violence. So regardless of knowing that, 43% who were unaware of the violent occurrences and the 76% of people who agree that drug use is in fact a part of the culture at Nuit Blanche, we can see here that the graph shows 56% of respondents will still attend regardless of knowing these factors. So this is a clear indication that people will still attend knowing these factors. So now I am going to pass it over to Alice, who is going to discuss our qualitative research as well as our secondary research.
So thank you, Heather, for going over all the quantitative data. And now here's the qualitative. So, as Kyla had mentioned, we did an interview with the previous Nuit Blanche representative and had many different findings from it. During the event, they were responsible for greeting, guiding, and ushering attendees towards an art installation. And with the lack of security throughout the event, they experienced many attendees under the influence and out of control. They mentioned only seeing security guards in high traffic locations with live art, such as Nathan Phillips Square and Dundas Square. The representative, however, did not experience any acts of violence, but they believed that an outbreak could have happened in the more high traffic areas of the event. This also leads to the overall layout of the event. Since so many Toronto streets displaying art weren't supervised and extremely spread out, security lacked the authority to control crowds in those specific areas. In general, the representative gave recommendations to keep live art installations, performances, and other creative programs closer together and to increase the number of security hired for the event. This would give more control back to the event and potentially reduce the number of substance abuse and any other potential violence. Although the interview with the representative was insightful about the inner workings of the event, it disproved the idea that attendees have a negative perception of Nuit Blanche, resulting in lower attendance. So as you can see here, now we have our secondary research, and it collected and gave us more insight to determine if violence and substance abuse will reduce the appeal and perception of Nuit Blanche Toronto, as well as affect the number of attendees. Our two literature reviews will discuss a news article written from Global News about violence and public disorder at the event in 2015, and then we have another article from Bridge Magazine, which was written by an attendee who is critiquing the overcrowding at the 2018 event. So as you can see there, the headline of the first article reads, "Chief Saunders calls Nuit Blanche violence and public disorder disturbing." And it's essentially about a Toronto police officer named Mark Saunders, who witnessed a number of violent incidents, including vandalism, gunshots, stabbings, and even someone getting trampled. The biggest section of the article describes a police officer getting attacked by a pedestrian with a bottle, which resulted with a broken bone in his hand and a cracked helmet. And although the 2015 event was very violent, this again disproves that Nuit Blanche's culture has affected the number of attendees throughout the years of the event. Now going on to the second article, it was written for Bridge Magazine and called Nuit Blanche 2018, an overcrowding critique. It explains that since Scotiabank, a leading sponsor, has cut 50% of their funds, the quality of Nuit Blanche has changed for the worse. In 2018, the event was defined less by the art and more of the crowds of people doing whatever they wanted to. And as years pass, the event is attended by increasing numbers of people and becoming overpopulated and full. This causes seeing art exhibits very impractical and is forcing security to hurry people through the city to avoid overcrowding. The exhibits were also too far apart, which made it difficult to find specific art pieces and made a bigger crowd in the more populated areas. Since the event suffers from overcrowding, this disproves that Nuit Blanche's culture has been affected by the number of attendees throughout the years of the event.
To restate our research question before our conclusion and recommendation, our research questions were, does the substance abuse and violence reduce the appeal/perception of Nuit Blanche, as well as affect the number of attendees during the event? Our secondary question is, should Nuit Blanche have more restrictions and precautions in place to reduce public violence and substance abuse during event hours?
So as you can see, by putting together all of the analyzed data, we were able to conclude that the violence and substance abuse at Nuit Blanche Toronto does not affect the number of annual attendees or affect the perception of the event. We recommend that Nuit Blanche have more restrictions and precautions to therefore reduce public violence and substance abuse that occurs during event hours. Based upon our research findings, our initial hypothesis was not supported.
So recommendations, just to build on what Alice had said in our conclusion there. Security. So it was clear to many respondents of our qualitative and quantitative research methods that having a higher security presence will get event attendees to focus on the artist's art installations instead of all the uncontrollable crowds. More security could also potentially reduce the number of violent occurrences that occur and will occur again likely, as well as help lower the amount of substance use seen on the streets during Nuit Blanche. Having additional security will create a more professional and safer environment for all of the attendees of Nuit Blanche forthcoming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Well, first of all, well done, guys. Okay. I just want to give you, just to let you know that I think your study was very thorough. Your presentation told a great story. I like you have all your sources here. And the thing that I really appreciated was the use of qualitative and quantitative data. You were able to bridge the two methods into telling a really good story, and you use that into your recommendations. Also, your sources were in terms of really great backup of lit review, meaning those articles that you saw. So overall, really well done, and thank you guys. Do you have any questions of me?
No,
Actually,
thank you so much.
a quick question, Ron. When handing in the actual report, would you like us to hand in all the questions and answers with it or with a separate document?
Probably better a separate document. And I think I put it that you can put multiple documents into the assignment areas, so I think you'll be able to do that. If
Perfect.
you can't, let me know. But I believe I okay.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, everybody, for listening to our presentation.
Very good. Thank you. So the next group up is the 820 group. You have a couple minutes to get ready and to, and actually, could you stop sharing your screen? That'll allow the other person to share their screen, the next group. So the next group's at 820, which is Jordan, Kiera, Tara Lynn, and Althea. And so that group can start to share their screen and start getting ready for their presentation. Thank you, Jordan.
No problem.
You don't have to start until you're ready. 8:20 is your time, and that's when you can start presenting.
Ready?
Also, when you're presenting, it'd be great. You should be showing your camera at that time.
Okay. Okay, so you guys ready?
Yeah, I think we're ready.
Yeah. How the heck? Alrighty.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah, I can't figure out how to share my screen and myself at the same time.
Jordan, you trying to figure out how to show your
Oh,
camera?
and one second.
Go down to the bottom left.
Right here.
Jordan, go to the bottom left.
I think I'm here.
Oh yeah, you are. There, you're talking. There you go. Sorry about that. Now share your screen again. That's great. Okay, when you're ready, you guys can start anytime.
Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. I am Carolyn, and my group members are Jordan, Kiera, and Alafia. We would like to present to you our research assignment on the Calgary Stampede and the animal abuse that occurs. We will be taking you through the history of the event, our research, and what we have found, what we conclude from our research, and the recommendations we have made in hopes of reducing the abuse.
Okay, so I'm going to be taking you through the history of the event since I do attend this event every year and I basically live for the Stampede. So the first Stampede was in 1912 and the greatest cowboys from all around the world came to compete for cash prizes. And this is still a thing. People that attend the rodeos place bets on the horses and the riders can win up to $1 million. In 1961, the Born to Buck program was introduced. This is a 23,000-acre farm in southern Alberta that the Stampede bought specifically to grow and raise all types of animals to compete and participate in this event. This farm is home to some of the world's best rodeo animals. The Calgary Stampede is the world's largest rodeo, and there are around 7,500 animals at the Stampede every year. Over 1 million people attend this event every year, and these people come in from all around the world to experience true Western culture. Over the years, I've met many people from Australia, which is quite surprising because you would never expect Australians to be fans of Western culture, but I guess they are. Leading up to the Stampede, we have free pop-up pancake breakfasts, typically in Canadian Tire or Home Depot parking lots, and they rotate throughout the neighborhoods. These pancake breakfasts are set up by the Stampede's volunteers, and they get Calgarians in the spirit of Stampede, and it really brings the city together before the event. Sometimes they even have little mini petting zoos with baby chickens, goats, and bunnies, and sometimes ponies that you can ride. The weekend before the 10-day event starts, there's a Stampede Parade kickoff. Essentially, the whole city shuts down and everyone attends this parade in downtown Calgary to celebrate the kickoff of the event. This parade includes over 70 floats and somewhere around 400 horses that are typically ridden by RCMP or cowgirls that do tricks on their horses. The parade also has over 20 marching bands and many First Nations people singing and dancing through the parade. Now, during the Stampede, there you can find many midway rides and games and a whole bunch of fun foods with different food trends every year. The photo I attached on the left is a picture of my friend and I on the midway around the rides from 2 years ago. This event is also one of Canada's largest music festivals with over 200 artists attending every year. The photo you can see on the right is a picture of my friends and I at a concert 2 years ago. There are many different stages on and off the grounds where you can either see artists for free or you have to pay for your ticket in advance to attend. Over the years, I've seen many country artists, but they also have other artists. Last year, I had VIP tickets to see Juice WRLD, and 2 years ago, Snoop Dogg performed. So there's really a variety. The Treaty 7 First Nations is a camp to more than 500 people, and during these 10 days, you can visit them as they showcase their cultures and histories by welcoming guests into their teepees and telling stories and sharing lifelong traditions. As you can see, the Calgary Stampede is one huge event with many other small events within that. Sounds pretty fun, right? The issue the Calgary Stampede and any other rodeo really is the harmful abuse the animals go through to compete and put on a show for so many people. From 1986 to 2018, there have been 98 recorded animal deaths during the Stampede, and this number doesn't even include the deaths that occurred during the training of the animals. This is what our research is based off of. But first, we want to show you a quick video so you can see for yourself what Calgarian culture is like.
So, here's the thing. Over 100 years ago, a fellow by the name of Guy Wiedek looked at his pals and said, I'm gonna put this thing together. Since then, every year in July, things, they started changing. Let me tell you, we get things started. There's things for your family, there's things for your friends, and there's things just for you. Cute things, hot things, cold things, big, heavy things. Good things that come in small packages. Things that flip, daring things. Maybe shopping is your thing. Maybe eating is your thing. Oh, I love them things. There's bucking things. Hold on to that thing. Look at these folks. They can buy a lot of things. See these things? They end up racing these things. There's things you love to ride, things maybe you wish you had, things you hear, things you feel, spectacular things, dancing things, singing things. Fact is, it's a cultural thing. It's the thing you wait for all year. And it takes a whole lot of folks in this here community to put on this old thing. And every year in Calgary, we tell those who visit, quite simply, it's a Stampede thing. Welcome to the Calgary Stampede.
video. I hope you could. So I want to. So our research question is, how does animal abuse at the Calgary Stampede affect the overall perception of the event from the general public? Moving on, we have our hypothesis. So if animal abuse at the rodeos continues, then the overall attendance of the Calgary Stampede will decrease, and the perception of the event will be viewed negatively. This leads us into our research that we conducted with the primary research. So using the online database called SurveyMonkey, we were able to get 152 participants to participate in our survey. This survey was published and directed towards anyone who was wanted to provide their feedback on whether they have attended the event or not. For this research study, there was no direct contact with any individuals who participated. All individuals who were participated in the survey were recruited through online social media platforms such as LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Using these different platforms, we were allowed to get a variety of different demographics to participate in the survey. The participants were asked to answer a total of 11 questions. These questions were all closed-ended, and it helped us determine the demographics that were actually attending the event. Analyzing the data from each question led us to some surprising facts about the event. The main goal of these questions was to determine how educated people were about the animal abuse that is happening during the rodeo shows at the event. We also wanted to discover if people's perception of the Calgary Stampede were affected by the rodeo, as like the abuse at the rodeo as well. So through our secondary research we conducted, we found some contradicting views on how the Stampede viewed their animal protection and how the veterinarian organization views the treatment of animals at the event. The Calgary Stampede claims to have a number of animal rights protections in place, yet every year animals keep dying or getting injured. Despite following a number of standards, like the Alberta Animals Protection Act, best practice described by the Animal Care Advisory Panel and the Stampede's own best practices, animals still die or are being hurt. They are also using fear as a psychological tool against the animals to increase excitement for attendees. Even though they have veterinarians on site to ensure safety and care for all the animals, the level of abuse that exists goes well beyond a celebration of Western heritage and rancher activities and turns it into a display of harm and violence for entertainment purposes. The Calgary Stampede also claims transparency and actively searching for ways to ensure animal safety as well as proper care and handling. However, they introduced an event for the Stampede that goes outside of celebrating ranchers' skills and increases the likelihood of animals being injured or killed. As many as the organizers of the Stampede are trying to protect animals, the level of fear that is used, the stress that is caused, and the inhumane actions the animals are forced to perform so that they really don't have the animal's best interest in mind. All of these factors from the secondary research could play a role in affecting perception of how the animals are treated and the overall perception of the Calgary Stampede.
Okay, so for our questionnaire sample, the first 3 questions talks us about the demographics, their age, their gender, where they live. What we found out that majority were females from Alberta, ages 18 to 24. Question 4 and 5 help us to understand how many people attend the Calgary Stampede and the rodeo show. And looking at question 4 in the diagram, we can see that 48.68% attended every year, and question 5 on the graph shows that 46.71% never attended the rodeo show. Question 6 through 8 talks us about the knowledge of the participants on the animal abuse that occurs. Majority were unsure if there was an animal issue, but they were aware of the deaths over the years. The participants strongly disagree with the animal abuse. Question 9 and 10 asks us about the knowledge of the abuse affects their perception of the rodeo and the Calgary Stampede. And what we found out that on graph 9 shows that 47.2% perceptions were affected, and graph 10 highlights that 47.2% overall Calgary Stampede perceptions was not affected. The last question talks us about how they rate the Calgary Stampede experience, and the average rating was 7.6.
Brings us to our conclusion of our research study. So throughout the research, the majority of these who participated in the survey were aware of the deaths that have occurred at the Calgary Stampede. These participants strongly disagree with the abuse that animals receive, which has changed their perception of the rodeo as a whole. However, the perception of the Calgary Stampede remains the same, but is not affected by the animal abuse that happens within it. If the abuse of the animals does continue at the event, we have figured out that the attendance of the event will not be affected.
So based on the conclusions we drew from our research, we have 2 recommendations set in place with hopes to decrease the amount of deaths and euthanization that occurs during this event. It is most common for rodeo horses to break their legs or have heart attacks while competing or training due to being overworked by the rider or owner. With that being said, our first recommendation is that there should be a fine in place in the event animal owners or the rider purposely overwork the animals or inflict pain upon them, causing death or euthanization, which is the term for when animals are forced to be put down. This recommendation ensures that the owners and caretakers are being more cautious when handling and training the animals because they will be punished for their actions. Rodeo animals within the ages of 3 and 5 are at the least amount of risk of any serious health issues, making this the prime age for them to compete. The second recommendation is that only animals within this age frame are allowed to compete in the rodeo events. Rodeo horses go through severe trauma while training and competing. This includes jumping, bucking, and racing. This recommendation ensures that the rodeo horses are within their optimal competing age and are not at high risk of any severe health issues such as overworked bones, muscles, or hearts.
And does anybody have any questions?
Hi guys, it's Ron here. Thank you very much. So good job. So here, obviously you have a passion for the Stampede. It looks.
Yes, I really do.
So little story. So I lived in Calgary for 8 years and went to many Stampedes. And when I first arrived in Calgary, when I moved there, I went to it was a pub called the Silver Slipper. I don't think it's still there. It was at the Westin. But I was in a lineup and I had a tie on and someone came outside and cut my tie off. So,
yeah.
So
yeah, everyone wears their cowboy boots and their cowboy hats and jeans and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so I learned the Torontonian needed to become more Calgarian at that moment. But
yeah.
I had a good time the rest of the night. But anyway, so I wanted to just say thank you for your presentation. A good story. I like the way that you started off by personalizing it. That's a great way to draw people in a presentation. I like the fact that you use a really good secondary data. So you use some great literature that you had sourced out, and that really helped in your conclusions, I felt. In addition, I thought that that your use of the graphs were good because you actually explained. One thing I would suggest you do in the future, though, is did you guys use the filters at all to come up with your recommendations in SurveyMonkey?
No.
That's okay. So yeah, in the future, you can use SurveyMonkey to filter questions to figure out. You may have found out there was a group of people that were believing that the violence was hurting the perception, and there was a group of people that weren't, and you could have compared those two groups as an example with the filters. So, and then my last question would be, so in your recommendations, it looks like you drew most of those conclusions through your lit review and some personal experience. Is that correct?
Yeah, a lot of it is just like personal experience, like based off of what I know
Okay.
about like in regards to like the ages of the horses and stuff.
Yep.
But in regards to like why, like the most common reasons why the animals have to retire or are forced to be euthanized, I found that and that was a source from the Calgary Humane Society.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Very good. Do you have any questions of me?
No, I don't.
All right, great. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Our next group is up at 8:40, so we have a little bit of time. We're ahead of schedule, but that's okay. It gives us time to load and get ready and prepare. So our next group is Hay, Thai, and Ewan, and they're up at 8:40. So you guys online?
Hey, Ron, it's Colin.
Hi, Colin. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm just wondering if it was me that cut your tie off.
No, it wasn't you.
Could have been. What years did you live in Calgary?
I lived from 1990 to 1996, 97.
Huh. So we overlapped there. I was there from 94 to 2002.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so I met my wife there. I had all my kids were born there, and then I got transferred back to Toronto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I did not meet a wife there.
yeah, and also my wife's family still live in Calgary. So the mother and father-in-law actually live outside of Calgary now.
Right.
Carstairs, they moved out there, but he was the chief of the fire department. My father.
Oh, cool.
And then my brother-in-law is a fireman now too. He's become a captain of a station, so it kind of runs in the family. Anyway.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go back on mute now.
Colin, you missed our presentation.
No, I didn't. I've been on since 5 to 8.
All right, fine.
I'm just remarkably quiet.
Okay, so I don't know if I see the next group for 8:40 is online. If you guys could load your presentation and put it up, share it the screen, and get ready to go. You can start at 8:40 or anything. Also, the group that's presenting should start to share their camera because you are up and you are presenting.
The camera. Oh. Mm. I can turn on the video.
What did you do? I don't know. Okay. Yeah, like or the. You have to leave meeting and then come back again. Ron? Hi, Ron.
Hi, how you doing?
Oh yeah, how are you doing? I have a problem with the audio, no, with the video thing. So I had to leave the meeting and then I would come right back because I cannot turn on my video. So like
That's
I
fine.
will come right back. Yeah,
That's okay.
yeah. Thank you. Just a
We got
second.
time, so
Yes,
don't worry.
yes.
Hi. Hi.
Morning.
Morning. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Okay. Hi.
No. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, John. How are
Morning,
you?
Jerry.
Yeah, if you could put your presentation on, yeah, that's good. On
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay.
No, let's get started.
Okay, so let's get started. Hi everyone. So good morning. So today our group will present. So sorry. Will present our research project is Fanic Pole, Canada. So our group have Ashley, me, Alice, Chang, and Tui. Okay, so please go on.
Yep. Keep continuing.
Okay, so yes. About Phoenix Poe in Canada, Phoenix Poe in Canada is the largest comic and sci-fi, horror, anime, and gaming event in Canada. And this is the third largest pop culture event in North America. So every year, Phoenix Poe Canada offer exciting family-friendly attractions, event, and world renowned celebrities. A lot of celebrities that attend the event in previous years has Stanley, Patrick Stewart, Carrie Fisher, and stuff from some hit television shows like The Walking Dead, Star Trek, The Arrow, The Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and many, many more. So everyone is a fan of something. And me personally, I'm a hardcore fan of the anime and comic stuff. And Fun Expo Canada is a place to celebrate all things pop culture. And they get an autograph or a photo with your favorite guest and get the inside scoop about the favorite movie and TV show at the celebrity panels. Watch professional comic artists battle in our popular sketch, learn from the how to workshop and take photo with the favorite costume characters. And Fan Expo Canada was founded by Eamon Gupta, and is becoming like bigger each year. So our research is about the art copyright in Fan Expo, and the reason why we chose this because as I attended Fan Expo each year, there's a problem that I felt that no one ever talk about it, and they try to, avoid to talk about it. It's like the selling celebrity signature and belonging at the high score online. And now, because of that, artists and celebrities are charging for their personalized autograph. And this is affecting the participant of comic book lovers, cosplayer in particular, and desire to meet the idols of consumer in general, like con goers. Please. So based on that, we come up with our topic question. The first one is, will targeting artists' personalized signature decrease the appeal of comic fans to the event in overall? And how can we prevent this unauthorized trading and protect the artist's benefits?
All right, so I'm Ashi. I'm going to present to you how we collect the data and how we analyze it. First of all, for the secondary data, so the secondary data, we collect them from the official sites, from comic fandoms, from articles of the artists and all the cosplayer on the live stream of previous year conventions such as Anime North York Toronto, Fan Expo, Comic Cons, and then we come up with the idea that there are two sides of opinion above the existing problem. So for those, and along with them are all the reasons why some artists and fans think they follow the agree idea or the disagree idea. For agree, people say that this is a supportive source of income, and it's also because of their reputation. Is their signature can be at a high value and it's too valuable to give away for free. So it's also an act to protect the copyright and intellectual property law. But how about the other side? People think they disagree with the idea that charging an additional fee for a single signature is worthless, and they just want it's like a tangible gift for their fans. So they think it's like just a simple thank you for their living, for the loving of fan for their artwork and for paying money for the books and for spending some time for attending the Fan Expo to meet with them, to sparing some tribute for their existence. Also, so how about what about that? That's the thought of the artist. So how about the opinion of the cosplayer and the comic book lovers community, and that who had to pay the significant fee range from $60 to $100? What do they think? Do they think it is fair enough to surcharge additional fees, or just some single signatures? So to answer these questions, we have collected the opinion from 138 responses to see if they consent with this. So the primary data, we collect the data from different types of survey questions, such as like a multiple choice question, open-ended question. And as I'm presenting to you, the first two geographic question to sustain the most credibility of Earth in that research. As you can see, the most popular age who attend the response is from 18 to 34 years old, and because of that, their occupation is almost student and employees. In the next slide, you can see the two above question, Q8 and Q13. So we see in Q8, there's a vast percentage of opinions strongly agree with the admission fee above $100 and also 90% willing to pay an extra amount charge, which imply the payment for miscellaneous services like autograph signing in this study case. So the survey drew up a big picture where everyone is comfortable with the fact that Panic Bowl Toronto is a fair playground. And these loyal fans, they think that participate in the event merely because of the, the fascination and all the experiences they got out from the event. So not only that, these two graphs may show that they have the concrete awareness toward the artist's copyright or the intellectual property. So move down to the Q11 and Q15, as you can see, with a Q11, as you can see, which a range of $5 to above $20, more or less people still willing to pay an additional fee for just a single signature in order to support for their artists. And in the Q15, the question is, would personalizing artist signature reduce the likelihood of them being commercialized? And yes, the dominant opinion pay is almost 80% of very likely and likely. This illustrates the positivity and the likelihood of eliminating those unauthorized trading are remarkable. And people think that this is a way of prevention as a supreme sanction for these inauthentic fans. So also in conclusion of these four graphs, in compared to the first hypothesis that we placed at the first time, we said that applying fees on non-personalized item is essential. However, it would decrease the interest of participants in going to the convention. However, after everything I just told you, we conclude that with this problem, fans are just welcome to what they are doing by charging an additional fee, and they think that it's reasonable and it's not going to reduce the appeal of the event in general. Moving up to the very last two paragraph, you can see the Q9 and Q16. There's 50% in Q9. We can see that is a dominant opinions. They say that strongly disagree or disagree with the idea that some people is making use of the idle efforts to sell their signature on website to make their own benefit. And these 90%, and you can see in Q16, there's 90% of responses said yes to the purpose of paying an additional fee for signing, while only a small fraction of 10% of people disagree with that. So as we can see from these paragraph, I see this is a delightful signal, and as almost of the responses are giving a positive attitude toward the situation are going on. So based on every paragraph that I just presented to you, I conclude one more thing: people have no offense for the admission fee or losing their intention to participate in the Fan Expo Toronto, even in the next year or even in the many years later. So that they also will be fine with the fact that artists and creators will ask them to pay for signing autographs. Moreover, people won't seem to have the basic knowledge of what is happening to the true-hearted creators and willing to support to them in many ways, including the finance as well. So finally, fans or non-fan people or who attend once or heard about the comic war are unaware of the mental influence that the inauthentic fans are causing to the creator and artists. So for our next slide, I'm going to hand in for Jay to present for you about the questionnaire, how we collect the questionnaire, and we give out the recommendation.
So our question is a yes or no question and a grading scale, mixing question and short answer. And for recommendation, we have 5 recommendations. Accepted trading price system, the third company protection registers for all these artist creation, hiring a brand manager or a personal lawyer, establish the proactive meeting. And here's our conclusion for.
So let me turn now to the conclusion. I would like to tell you about our summary research. Firstly, the audits should have an addition fee for their signature, which is a way to protect their benefits and their idol readability as well. It's also a positive financial measure to minimize the intellectual explosion of inauthentic funds. For moreover, based on the research, we found that some creators change for their signature, and then they collect the money to charity to support the comic creator in the financial needs. For the next one, to be solved this problem, we think the artist and the fan expo can have the one contract with Flora, or can have the one contract with the third company, the middle company, to protect them. For the finally, in the summary, fan expo will not only take responsibility for the artist, but also responsibility and the wiser love of their fans to gesture their aspect. However, it depends on each person, and they will have the specific answer. That's all we collect, and we have some summary research for you, and we recommend 5 recommendations after we analyze data. That's all. That's it. Well, that's it from me. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, do you have any questions? Super.
You moved your.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I have questions and I have some comments for you. So first of all, thank you very much. I have a couple questions. So I really liked, I'll start off with some feedback. So I really liked how when you started, you can tell that you had a personal connection to this event. And so it came through in your story when you were starting out. The graph you used to explain your secondary data and the questions that you were answering was a good way to do that. I like that, so just want to let you know. And then I saw that you used a number of different graphs to kind of tell your story and to draw your conclusions and recommendations. And a question for you, what kind of literature review did you guys do to support your conclusions?
The interview?
Oh, so you did an interview. Were there any write-ups or articles or anything?
Yeah, we do research from the article from the fandom as well, and like we collect both the ideas of artists and the fans. And the article is actually retrieved from some credible link as well, like HubSpot and like Guardian as well. It's not like just like just a discussion panel. It's not like that. It's actually an article. So we also watched from a video from last year of the Fan Expo and the Comic Con, and we see that people normally not really bring those kind of a problem on the TV, but they showcase that there was an artist at the autograph, and they just normally give out their signature, and the fan just normally give them their money, and I mean, like, it's not a real problem here, and I think this is an unofficial problem to discuss about, so that we want to lighten and raise the awareness of people about that.
So, and in the other hand, we also read the comment on the big fan of Fan Expo, and compare to the another exhibition about the anime or something. We read the personal comment from the fans, and we collect from that.
Okay, thank you very much. So very good. I appreciate your effort. I'm looking forward to reviewing your report in Blackboard. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you for listening
Uh,
to us. Have a
Thank
good day,
you
guys.
for
for
listening.
Thank you, everyone.
thank you for teaching us for this semester, Ron.
The
We
whole
appreciate
semester.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Too bad it was only a couple classes, but at least we have this virtual method, which is great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
So the
you.
next
We
group is,
appreciate that.
thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. So the next group's at 9 a.m. If you could start to load the screen, I'm just going to stop sharing my camera and I'll be right back. Okay, everybody, I'm back. Thank you. I see you have it all loaded, which is awesome. If you're ready, Ashley, Crystal, and Kanisha, you guys can start.
Okay, so you can see our screen well, right?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Blurry. Awesome.
Okay.
Oh, I see you're in theme. Thank you.
Why is mine so blurry?
Ho, ho, ho. All right, go ahead.
Alrighty. Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning as we explore our results from our market research study. Myself, Ashley, and Kanisha will be discussing the history of Christmas markets and exploring the types of individuals who attend the Christmas market and have taken part in our research study. To conclude, we will also touch on our findings and recommendations. All right, so Christmas markets originated in Europe as early as the 1400s. For many, these Christmas markets brought cheer to villagers of small towns, as the shopkeepers were able to sell their products, which were then given as Christmas gifts to family and friends. The Toronto Christmas Market has been around for 10 years and transforms the historic distillery district into a magical and romantic modern interpretation of the classic European Christmas markets. The Toronto Christmas Market features entertainment, European food delicacies, unique gift items from around the world, and outdoor heated beer and mulled wine gardens, as well as a 50-foot Christmas tree decorated with more than 40,000 lights and ornaments. Now we will have Kanisha share some information about a research study.
All right, thank you, Crystal. So now we'll touch on our mission. We sought out to prove that the cost of participating in the Christmas market took away from the fun and joy and also the Christmas spirit from the overall attendees experience. So now we want to talk about our target attendee experiences. Meet Jonathan. He is 31 to 34 years old. His household income is from 75,000 to 99,000 a year. He enjoys experiences. He attends the market with his girlfriend, and he resides in the GTA. Now I want to take you on Jonathan's Christmas market journey. So he starts at the Christmas market by going on the distillery tour, and then he goes off to the Ferris wheel with his girlfriend. Then he goes off to the bear garden and he chugs down a couple of bears. And then afterwards, he goes off to Santa's barbecue and he enjoys some food before he leaves the market. Jonathan represents 29% of attendees who spend between $50 to $99 on experiences at the market. So now I'll pass it over to Ashley, who will continue to bring you through the attendees' journeys. Ashley, can't hear you. Hold on.
Thank you, Kanisha. I think I like Jonathan. Okay, let me introduce you guys to the Robinson family. They're a family of 4 with a combined annual household income of about 100 to 150,000. They are most likely to purchase food, hot chocolate, like goodies. The kids love this event and they go every single year. The family does live outside of the GTA, so they have to plan this in advance. When they go to the market, the kids are super excited. They want to see Santa right away. So that's usually their first stop. Second, they probably going to go to the Lifeside Gingerbread House, check that out, get a few little snacks. Then after being there for some time, they're probably going to get a little bit cold. So they'll stop for some hot chocolate. Finally, before leaving, they're going to grab some cookies so they can share with Grandpa at home. So this family represents 88% of attendees who would buy food and beverage. Now I'm going to pass it on to Crystal, who'll take you through the next attendees journey.
Thank you, Ashley. Now everyone meet Ebony. Ebony lives within the GTA and has 2 major hobbies, one of which is taking photos of absolutely everything, and the second is collecting meaningful souvenirs. Let's go on a journey with her as she explores the Toronto Christmas market. Her first stop is at a local vendor where she checks out all the unique stocking stuffers. And then she checks out the Eastern European gift shop where she falls in love with all of the handmade ornaments. And of course, she needs to take a bunch of selfies all around the distillery district. Before she heads home, she purchases some new mittens and scarves to keep her warm during the cold winter months. Ebony represents 40% of attendees who spend money on purchasing branded souvenirs and home decor. Now, Kanisha will share with you our findings and recommendations.
Thank you, thank you, Crystal. So what did we actually prove our hypothesis? Actually, no, we didn't, unfortunately. Our hypothesis was considered invalid. So now we'll talk about some of the, what our results show basically. So our results show that the respondents consider the participation cost to be fair, and it's basically what they had expected. The majority of our respondents' household income is between 75,000 to 174,000 a year, and they are really just not concerned about the participation cost. Our secondary research also showed that the attendees, are concerned more about the nostalgic feelings and the memories that they get at the Christmas market, and so their willingness to spend more is increased. We also realized that the value of money that they spend at the market, they considered it to be fair, very good, or good. So now I'll hand over to Ashley, who will continue to share our recommendations.
Okay, thank you, Kanisha. Let's review our findings. Based on the SurveyMonkey questionnaire, we noticed that there's quite a large gap in the market in terms of audience. After filtering the data, we noticed that 26% of people aged 41 and over have not attended the Toronto Christmas market. Due to the fact that our hypothesis was not supported from our research results, we don't really have recommendations to provide about the participation costs in specific. However, based on the gap in the market of people who have not attended the Christmas market, we recommend that the event team raise their marketing efforts towards people who are 41 plus. This can be done by advertising more on Facebook, because this is where that demographic lives, and creating campaigns that will really resonate with them and their interests. So a little conclusion, the methods that we used. SurveyMonkey was our biggest one with 80 results. Then we did one-on-one interviews with past attendees. Some of the articles that we focused on was the Christmas celebration of secondary consumers. Does authenticity really affect behavior? The case of the Christmas market, and unwrapping the Toronto Christmas market, an examination of tradition and nostalgia in a socially constructed space. These articles brought us insight on which external aspects would affect the guest experience for the Toronto Christmas market's valuable attendees. So in conclusion to our research specifically, we noticed that the attendees are not bothered by the cost to participate. They expect to spend this type of money at this event, and they don't leave without feeling peace, love, joy, and Christmas spirit. That concludes our presentation. Thank you guys for listening. If anybody has any questions, comments.
Great, thank you guys. Nice story, good job. I think I like that you dressed up in theme. I also really liked your slides. So you kind of took to heart how to present research, which is to not use lots of writing, and you showed the journey of each consumer. I thought that was a great idea. That was one of the things that we learned in, using your data effectively and then turning that into a real story. And that was a good tip that I shared 2 weeks ago. Also, I liked your persona, so that was great. And yeah, so sometimes when you do research, you don't always prove your hypothesis. It's okay. Because generally, as you found out, you probably had some inkling that potentially charging for the Christmas market may detract people or make them not want to come. And it might be something you had in the back of your mind, and you may have seen something in your, like you said, in your lit review and your secondary research. But at the end of the day, you may do the survey and people really are fine with spending the money. So that's okay. So thank you very much. Good job. And do you guys have any questions of me?
No, thank you.
No, thank you very much.
I look forward to
Maybe just based on like, if we don't have recommendations, like did we go about that properly? Like to find other data?
So one thing you can do related to recommendations is you can, it sounds like you had a lot of good secondary sources, the interview that you did, as well as the literature review that you did. So you might be able to get other recommendations from those sources, because it looks like your data doesn't allow you to do that, just from hearing from you.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, the next group is Amira's group at 9:20.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
We got like 10 minutes.
You are welcome to start any time you want, or to wait till the 9:20 time frame. So it's up to you.
Oh, do you guys want to start?
Hold on. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so I guess we'll start now then. Good morning, everyone. So for our market research assignment, we had chosen to do Bell Music Festival. I'm Avery. My group members are Mira and Beatrice. If you want to. So for our agenda today, we'll be talking about our research question, what we based our assignment off of, our primary and secondary research with sources, the questionnaire questions that we have used, our conclusions, and our suggestions for our research.
So our research question is Veld at fault for the drug overdose, or is the attendees due of lack of safety concerns?
So our hypothesis is basically the issues the attendees of lack of knowledge in their own safety, even with growing safety measures implemented by the incorporation. I'll be starting off with the secondary sources. So we used articles backing from 2014 to 2017 that related to all drug use of Veld. So in 2014, 2 individuals passed away due to taking drugs. They died by taking and buying from an unknown source. So from the article, the police officer mentioned that they could not identify this drug. There were 2 drugs. There was 1 small brown pill and another clear capsule with a white substance. One of the police officers also said attendees would take up to 10 pills at the event or even take unidentified drugs on the field festival grounds. So throughout the years, Veld implemented new safety measures like 2 MST boxes at the entrance, strong medical presence, increased hydration stations, naloxone uses, and much more. However, on August 30th, 2017, 30 attendees were taken to the hospital with overdoses. Even though there were preventive measures in place, there were still drug overdoses within the festival. Avery will take over for primary source.
So for the primary source, we use the SurveyMonkey website to conduct a questionnaire within the demographic of the festival goers that attend Veld normally every year. We conducted the questionnaire anonymously for everyone to look into, as well as I did an interview. I chose to interview 2 different vendors. I used a female who did attend the festival and a male who didn't, within different age groups. The survey concluded with 10 closed-ended questions, and we basically just asked who all attended, and we hoped that we would find, the perspective from people who attended the festival and their perspective on it, as well as people who were looking on the outside in, based off the news reports and based off, any basically any information that they were told regardless. So basically the questionnaire questions that we used were pretty self-explanatory. They were basically, how often do you attend the festival? Are you aware of the drug usage that occurs during the festival? Do you think that Veld is at fault? Are you aware of the medical staff on site in case there was ever an emergency that occurred? We asked about the locations of washrooms and hydration stations because a lot of the time over the past years, a lot of people had stated that there wasn't enough of them or they couldn't find them just due to the amount of people that attended the festival. We asked them if they've ever witnessed anybody taking drugs or purchasing illegal substances, as well as, witness any experiences of symptoms of a drug overdose. As well as if anybody needed any medical assistance. We also asked them if their knowledge of drug usage affects their Veld perspective overall, from the inside as well as the outside, and if the safety measures are too strict, and if they feel safe in general.
So in conclusion to our questionnaire survey, we noticed that the majority of people at Veld do use drugs, but it does not affect their perspective of the festival in general. But there was some issues concerning the safety. There was no issues concerning the safety. I mean, if it was too strict. And the guests did feel safe at the event, even though people were using drugs, but people still felt safe. There was no disagreement on the number of medical services or hydrations, but some people did agree that there wasn't enough, as you can see in the charts. So to conclude our results, our hypothesis is correct and people do not blame the festival overall. However, the results are surprising and we entirely put the blame on the attendees when the majority are aware of the medical services and hydration stations.
So the suggestions and recommendations we put out for VALD itself to kind of get more safety measures, or at least kind of convey that. We think that social media posts will help the safety and VALD by giving quick facts about the safety measures they offer. So like if they could post up an Instagram post or like a quick little YouTube video about what they implemented throughout the years, people will be more aware of what VALD is trying to do to keep the attendees safe, so that people can refrain from the fear of getting in trouble. That's what I feel like the reasons why people don't seek out help, even though people are aware there's still people are still aware about the medical stations, about the hydration stations, and about the death that happened in 2014. We can recommend VALD to convey that their guests' safety is their priority, and that's what they should do by using social media posts. And that's all we have. Thank you.
Great, thank you guys. Thank you very much. Okay, so great story. I liked your use of the pointer. I didn't realize that. Was that in Google Slides?
Yes.
Yeah. So that worked very well, especially in this environment. Also, I really think that your survey questions were the right ones to ask. And so most of your recommendations, where did they come from? A combination of your qual and quant, or were they mostly from your qualitative and your lit review?
I think it's kind of both, because when I was doing the qualitative research, like this secondary source research, there was a lot on how VALD would always, every year or every 2 years, they would bring out new safety measures. Like I didn't really mention it in the PowerPoint, but they actually also provided female workers, like the increased female workers, so females can also feel safe at the festival. But when I was looking at the survey, not a lot of people really cared about the strictness of the safety. They knew the drug, the illegal substances were happening, and they were still doing it, or yeah, so they're still doing it.
To go off of what B just said, I remember I attended last year and you mentioned how there was more female people working there and volunteering there. So when we had to go through the line up the security check, they had females patting down females to make it more appropriate, because they didn't want males touching the females, and therefore if females were sneaking anything in, or if they were trying to bring anything into the festival, they would not be able to find it. Therefore, there was more when we did our survey, when we looked into the data results, a lot more females were saying that they had the more experience with the drug usage versus the males. So
Yeah.
I noticed that a lot with our research as well. Therefore, when they implemented more of a strict female, basically searching females, it actually helped it decrease quite a bit.
So the suggestions, the reason why we kind of provided that suggestion is that onto our survey, a lot of people didn't even ask for medical assistance. I guess like when they witnessed people or random strangers getting like drug overdose, looking like they didn't want to go ask for help. So I believe it's because they're afraid of getting in trouble. When one of the articles, one of the police officers were saying that a lot of people are afraid to ask for help, or they just refrain from it because they're more worried about they're using illegal substances. But there's this one quote that mentioned that they would rather put the safety of their attendees, and that's why they're going to use the naloxone, naloxone drug overdose prevention thing to prevent that. So I thought maybe if they just post little quick facts to show their belief in keeping their attendees' safety as their priority, the attendees would try to ask for more help when they can.
I see. One last question. So in your choice of qualitative method of interviews, obviously that was based on the fact that we were in COVID-19, so right.
Yeah.
But you picked two groups, ones that didn't attend and those that did attend, one group that was younger and one group that was older.
Mm-hmm.
What was the rationale around that?
Basically, I wanted to do it from the perspective of outside the festival versus inside the festival, and I found that the demographic for whoever attends Veld is anywhere between 18 to 21 too. So I knew a lot of people who hadn't have gone to the festival, but they heard a lot about what was happening within the festival, which made them not want to go. So I kind of wanted to figure out as to, you know, somebody's already in the festival, they're seeing what's going on, they're doing whatever they're doing. What on the outside do you see? So I kind of like wanted to base the interview around that.
Okay. So I know we didn't have a lot of time, and again, we're in COVID-19.
Yeah.
It might have been good to do both male and female for both categories. You would have gotten maybe a different perspective from the two.
Yeah. We, like, what I tried to do was at first I was like, should I just do two females, one who hasn't, one who has gone to the festival? But at the same time, I wanted to see, okay, maybe if I looked at it from a male's perspective, because versus a female who was in there, I just wanted to see kind of like the difference. But definitely for market research, basically for the data, I would love to have gotten a perspective from two people, like female who haven't versus the male, for sure.
Yeah,
just to see, because a lot of people, and it's funny because a lot of people who didn't attend the festival, they had heard more about what was going on, and like from the inside perspective, versus the inside perspective, we're just there, you know, they're listening to the music, they're distracted about the scenery and what's actually happening. So you don't really, like, from what I was told, that you don't really see, or you don't really expect it because there's so many people. But on the outside, you're looking in and you're like, okay, this one broad story came out of this news report of Veld, and it's drug related. So now it's a drug related based festival. You know, I wanted to kind of say, okay, well, from the inside perspective though, when you're in there, a lot of people said, no, we don't need medical assistance. No, I've never seen results of a drug overdose. I've never seen anybody who needed to have any help or anything like that, because there's so many people and you just don't think about it. Or you're doing it yourself, which is like a huge risk in itself. But I wanted to kind of like pinpoint both perspectives.
Yeah, I also think if you had more time, you could have done focus groups with two different.
Yeah, no, for sure, definitely, because there are different target demographics that go, like, because Veld is all ages, like, realistically, we found that a lot of people, there was nobody really under the age of 18 that went, but I would love to have gone, and I don't think anybody really over the age of 30 like they signed anything about the survey, so definitely doing focus groups for that as well.
I was trying really hard to find like random strangers from different demographics on Instagram, just messaging people with the survey, because it was really hard to get kind of that raw material. Mm-hmm. So it was difficult because of the pandemic, but we went over 100, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, good. So you had over 100 people. How many did you have total? Sorry, I didn't get that.
Mira, do you remember?
We had like 140, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as I said in class, guys, everybody, you know, typically you'd want to have a 300 sample size. But because this is really specific and the question is so specific, the samples you have actually make your results very valid, just to let you know.
Yeah, we try to keep it specific because, like, it was really hard to, if we made it more of a broader sense, it would have been harder to find people to actually take the survey.
Yeah.
For us, during the pandemic, because I had to, most of my friends already answered, and that was only like 20 people. And then I was like, oh no, we need more. So we'd have to like go to different like festival, like there's this rave festival group that Avery sent it to.
Yeah, like I know a bunch of the promoters who work and actually promote these festivals, not just Val, but a bunch of them. And I was able to kind of like get the survey within their groups and like their managers and their, you know, the people they know. So it's kind of like, it's not only just looking at the people who go, it's also looking at, okay, the people who actually throw these festivals, what do they want to do to implement further rules and like safety precautions and methods. So that's what.
Great. Well, thank you. That gives me good understanding. Anyway, appreciate this presentation. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next group is the 940 group with Brittany, Stephanie, their group. If you guys are ready, if you could stop sharing your screen as well, that would be great, and then allow them to share their screen. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. My camera. Okay.
Hi, Stephanie.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. My computer's a little bit janky right now, so I've had to switch to another one. So I'm hoping that this will work, but I guess we'll see.
Nina there as well?
Yes, she is.
I'm gonna start.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Hi everyone. Hope you're all doing well. For our research proposal, we have chosen to explore TIFF. We are going to start off by looking at the agenda to just have an overview of our presentation. We are going to start off with looking at the research question, then moving into the sources we use, followed by our questionnaire, and ending off with conclusions and suggestions. Now I will be passing it on to Brittany.
Hello. So for our research questions, to obtain our research questions, we have contacted TIFF through Ron, and we're able to obtain some of the problems they have been facing. One of the largest concerns was the difficulty TIFF has reaching and securing first-time audiences and the next generation of festival goers, which are younger generations as ourselves. For this, we derived the questions. So how does TIFF attract first-time film goers? We also added some sub-questions to answer along the way. Those being, in what ways can TIFF promote themselves to appeal to millennials? And what marketing tactics are most appealing to this new generation of festival goers? So now I'm going to pass it off to Christina.
Moving on, we're going to look at the forms of resources we used. For our primary data, we used a questionnaire and held a focus group. And for our secondary data, we used reviews from both Google, Yelp, and data collected from TIFF. Just to expand a little bit further, the survey was posted on Instagram and we had 155 participants. And the focus group was held via Zoom with 5 participants in the age range of 20 to 25, which happens to be part of the new audience that TIFF is trying to target. For the quantitative data, like we said, we pulled information from both Google and Yelp and contacted TIFF directly. And again, with Ron's help. So thank you, Ron. We spoke with Claire from TIFF via Zoom. She was able to guide our research further and provide us with direct information from the festival. Now I will be passing it on to Stephanie.
All right, so I'm just gonna go through the questionnaire and some of the questions that we did answer. So as you can see on the screen, these are just a few of the ones that we put in, and we just started off with like logistics, so like gender, age, location, just to get a good idea of who we were actually asking questions to. We talked a little bit like social media, marketing tactics, and then moved into festivals, whether they had heard of TIFF or not, attended, and like methods of purchasing tickets. Now I'm just going to show you some of the actual responses that we received. So we included 4 here, and we thought that these were appropriate to include because they kind of help to guide along our research. We started off with how old the people that we were questioning were, and it turned out that almost 90% was between the ages of 18 to 24, and this actually worked quite well because this is part of the target market. It's a little bit on the lower side, but still close to what TIFF is trying to target for the new generation of festival goers. We asked if they have heard of TIFF before, and this goes to prove another one of the suggestions that we made at the end, because the very familiar, not familiar at all, it goes to show like the drastic difference between it all, between people who know about TIFF and people who don't. And if you check the next chart, it says, have you attended a TIFF event before? So that just, no, you stay on the other side, Britt. So that just goes to show that people know what TIFF is, people have heard about it, but they haven't attended and probably don't know all the attractions and the whole TIFF experience and what that they have to offer. Most people, when they hear of TIFF, they just think of a movie. They don't know the full scope of it all. And then we asked, are you more likely to purchase a ticket for an event online or more in person? And this helped to answer one of the sub-questions that we've had. And of course, we were expecting this. Almost 90% of people did say online. And this again ties into one of the concerns that we had at the end. So now for the results, we were able to ask a question on the survey, and it was what would motivate you to attend a TIFF festival. And this was just to see, again, what marketing tactics we could use to attract this new target audience, and what would actually influence and entice these younger generation to go. And of course, we had like lots of discounts, promotions, going with friends. So showcasing, selling an experience to them. Not that they're only going for a movie, they're going for the TIFF experience is what we're trying to promote. What we were, one of the reasons that a lot of people aren't going to TIFF, which Brittany is going to elaborate on later on, is that people actually don't know what it is. So they may know what TIFF is, but they don't have the full idea of what it is. So as you can see, if I knew what it was, I have never been, I don't know what it is. So that's definitely something that TIFF has to work on, is actually making sure that this new target audience and the new generation of festival goers fully understand what's going on TIFF. I think now I'm passing it on to Brittany or Christina.
So in conclusion, after analyzing our research, we came up with the following conclusions. One of the main reasons TIFF has a hard time securing this new generation of festival goers is because of the lack of knowledge of the festival it has and what they have to offer. So let's say we were to ask people for a show of hands of how many people actually know TIFF and are familiar with them. I honestly believe that only 30% of hands would be raised, because a lot of people don't understand, as Stephanie said, the scope of TIFF. So we found in our research that the majority of participants may have known or heard about TIFF, but had never looked into the movie process or the red carpets. Going to TIFF introduces you into the film world, and if people say it's more than just watching a movie, but rather an experience and a guaranteed time, we believe that they would we believe that they would consider attending. So for example, when you're out with your friends and you go to a restaurant, you don't second guess buying a pitcher of beer. Why? Because you're guaranteed a good time. Where at TIFF, if you purchase a ticket, you aren't even guaranteed to watch the film or have a memorable experience. The second thing we noticed is a huge derivative of why new festival goers may not be attending, because of the complicated ticket process. You purchase your ticket online and are required to go to TIFF to pick up the ticket in person, waiting in a long line, which means if it's sold out, you're out of luck. So you just wasted $20. This may be hindering people from attending. We also believe that because most of us check the reviews and do a thorough research before attending an event, and users have complained about missing films, complicated pickups, and no refunds if a film is missed. When speaking to Claire, she actually mentioned to us that TIFF has the most complicated ticket process for all events in North America. This is definitely a major turnoff when looking at TIFF. Last, we noticed that although TIFF is trying to target this new generation of festival goers and mainly target young adults such as ourselves, there is no marketing that is directly targeted towards us. We believe that if TIFF focused on creating a marketing plan that would entice young adults, that would definitely increase the number of sales for youth attending their events. So I'm going to pass it off to Stephanie to talk about the suggestions that we.
Alrighty, so ending off, like Brent said, we're just going to talk about some of the suggestions that I guess we suggest for TIFF to do. So first off, TIFF should focus on marketing all the aspects of the event to showcase the entire TIFF experience. They should play into the talent and celebrity world, but emphasize the idea of becoming part of the film community and discovering up and coming directors and movies. We really want to showcase the idea that it's not all about the big box office films, the stars there, but rather, excuse me, the hidden gems that you find in between. And we believe that this is TIFF's real value proposition because it's something that you cannot find anywhere else. Nowhere else in Canada is there an event like TIFF. So if TIFF finds a way to showcase that they're special, they're different, the younger generation is going to want to go to experience something that's new and hopefully fall in love with it and become regular customers for the next couple years, because that's the main problem, is that their customer base right now is aging out. So we really need to get this younger generation in. And moving forward, something that's very, very important is the ticket process. Obviously, prior to speaking to Claire from TIFF, we assume kind of just the same as everyone else. And it's, why doesn't TIFF just change the ticket sale process? Why don't they just come up with something new? And as Brittany said, it was just cannot be done because it's overly complicated with over 350 movies playing at different price points and all across different venues. It just cannot be done. However, we do believe that TIFF can settle this worry for new film goers by having a page that's dedicated to the ticket process and explaining all the rules and regulations associated with it. So for example, attendees complained that they didn't know that you had to present a credit card along with a copy of the driver's license or any form of ID of the person who purchased the ticket. And this can be a problem when you're purchasing a ticket for a friend. And this is something that's so easily solvable. All you have to do is have a page online or whatever it is. If you buy a ticket, you get an email saying all these rules and regulations. And I think this would help to prevent a lot of the headaches. And also when you looking at a review, if you see a review that's negative, but you have information from the actual website to back it up, I think that that would definitely help people and feeling a little bit more secure when buying the tickets for TIFF. And last but not least, like Britt was saying as well, develop the marketing tactics that target and entice the new target audience. So this is important because, like I said earlier, the current audience is aging out. And if marketing tactics aren't taken and put into place to attract this new generation of festival goers, there isn't going to be a TIFF a couple years down the road, or it's not going to be an event that is as big. So we suggest enticing young adults by partnering with schools or places of employment to offer discounts, freebies, or perhaps even hosting an event that is a film preview, but it's dedicated specifically to a younger crowd. I think especially with people our age, we want to feel special. We want to feel like wanted. And if you have like an event that's directly targeted towards just us, I think that that would definitely increase the amount of people who are attending and going to the event and purchasing tickets for the next couple of years as well. So now just to wrap it up, I'm going to pass it to Chrissy.
To wrap up our presentation, we wanted to list some of the sources that we use to obtain our data for the research proposal. And other than that, that's the end for us. Thank you for listening. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, guys. It's Ron here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So thank you very much. Yeah, so I'm glad you were able to touch base with Claire. And she obviously was very helpful with your recommendations. I think you did a good job of tying in some of her knowledge of what's going on at TIFF, and they do their own research as well. That question that they came up with was based on a challenge that they're facing. And then one of our, in the first year students in the event marketing and special events class, this year we used them. And yesterday we had the finals, and it was quite interesting, the outcome of that. But so thank you for your recommendations. I really liked the way you used Prezi, just to let you know. I thought that told a really good story. It wasn't, sometimes when you use Prezi, it can become very dizzy, like you become dizzy watching it, but it was used very well. So I just want to thank you for that. So very visual. I think I just had a question for you. So when you got this idea that people don't know the full idea of TIFF and all the events that go around it and the festival aspect, and mostly just know the movies, where did you come up with that I guess that conclusion? Was it quantitative or your qualitative data?
Do you guys want me to take the question?
Yeah.
So when we were coming up with that answer, first off, the main reason we knew that from the beginning is because we all have heard of TIFF ourselves, but we had absolutely no idea what it is that's going on. Before researching, we also thought that it was just kind of like you go to a movie, it's like you're going to Cineplex, but it's a little bit on a larger scale. So we definitely pulled those answers from the survey, because we were able to actually have a location where people said like comment below, and a lot of Brittany compiled the answers, and a lot of them were, I don't know what it is, I've never been, if I knew what it was. Those were top 3, I would say. And we also pulled that from the focus group that we did. We were able to do Zoom with a couple of our friends who are in the age group as well. And through them, we also answered them questions. Some of them had been to TIFF before, so it was nice getting a little bit of a different perspective. But for the most part, people aren't going to TIFF, not because I think that they don't like it. I think a huge portion is that people aren't actually sure the full scope of the event, of what they actually have to offer, other than just the movie portion of it. Because it's a whole experience, right? It's like going to a concert or a rave or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, TIFF is challenged because of the number of events they actually have, 350. We learned yesterday as well that they reduced the number of films. They even had more at one time, and their creative director and chief experience officer Cameron, he reduced the number of events, but there's still a lot of events, which makes it hard for people to understand, first-time goers, what it's really all about. In your focus group, so you guys use Zoom, that's great. How many people were in your focus group?
There was 5 people.
Nice, okay.
Not too much, but just enough to ask your questions and kind of get some data.
Very good. And what did you find by doing that focus group?
I think that by doing the focus group, we kind of just found that first off, we could actually talk to people one-on-one and get like their full response, and like not just kind of like a short bit. So it was nice to see, even if it was our friends, like we had known they had attended TIFF, but it did help our research at the end of the day. Some of them had been to TIFF, they had like a negative experience before, so it was nice to kind of like hear that and hear what they had to say. But in general, I think it definitely helped to kind of guide our research along. For the most part though, Claire is really the one who kind of like took it on top. She really helped us out to really like tell us about conclusions, suggestions. She really helped us out to kind of get our whole proposal on track.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was concerned about sharing the questions publicly, but
yes,
at the end of the day, she was fine with those questions, so that was good.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have any other thoughts or to conclude, or any questions of me?
I have one question for you, Ron. So we're supposed to be handing in our assignment on Blackboard, right? Not turn it in?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so with the Prezi, it doesn't actually come as like a file. So I just attached the link.
Can you save your Prezi as an Adobe file? Adobe PDF? I think you can.
Okay, then I'll do that. And then I can send it to you on email.
Well, then you can upload it into the assignment area. So in the assignment area, you just click on where it says the presentation, submit presentation, and you can upload your file there. I think I allowed for any type of file, so I think an Adobe would be fine. Adobe PDF.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I'll look as we're listening to the presentation to make sure I did that too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Any other questions? You're good?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys. So the next group is Jasleen Carr's group. Is Jasleen on the line? I see she is. Hi, Princess.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Jasleen was having a challenge with Zoom. You may want to have her call in on the phone number provided.
Yeah, actually texted her. There you go.
Hi, Jasleen.
I think she's mute.
Did you call in, Jasleen?
Hello? We can hear you. Okay. She said she's gonna come back. I think she's gonna fix it.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Jasleen, talk. See if we can hear you. Oh, she went on. Yeah, one way to do this is just to show the camera, and then she can have her phone on and speak through her phone as well, and put her computer on mute. That's why I tried to explain this morning to her, because she's having a challenge using the the video and the audio at the same time.
There you go. Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Can you all see it? I cannot hear Ron talking. Okay.
I just said yes. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So I can start now? Shall I go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
So, hi everyone. I'm sorry for all that trouble. I don't know why it was happening, but we are going to share our research assignment with you on CNE. So it's me, Justine, my partners, Princess and Tayan. So our agenda for today is introduction on CNE, and then the topic, the problem and the question, then how it is interest for our target readers and how it helps us, and also a view on the primary research and secondary, and then the data collected and some recommendations at the end. So moving on, I'll be giving you a little brief about the Canadian National Exhibition, also known as CNE. So it took place in the year 1879. Then it's an annual event that takes place every year in Toronto, and people love it. Like everybody wants to visit there if they get a chance. So it's Canada's largest annual fair and sixth largest fair in North America. It has a lot of various opportunities for people to go and have fun because it has shopping areas like entertainment and then sports event, even a casino and like rides and food. So for a topic that we are going to focus on is that if we extend the event from the days, so how would it impact the audience and the revenue and everything around? So the problem is that the length of time allocated to the CNE festivities is too short and of such is not able to meet the needs of the target audience. So the question is like extending the length of the CNE, increase the appeal of the festival and increase the number of people the guests visit during the week and ultimately help in increasing the revenue. Moving on, Tian will be explaining further how it helps our target readers and how it helps in their findings.
So can you guys hear me?
We cannot see you, Tian, now.
Okay. Can you guys see me now? Okay. So for the target readers, our target readers are mostly young adults, families, and tourists. What they can get from our finding is like to get a better understanding of what CNE is, and if they would like to visit the CNE or have family members visit the CNE. As for the objectives to research, we do the objectives to research to access the knowledge of individual, to determine whether or not people are aware of CNE, to collect data about the CNE. As for the primary research, because of the COVID-19, we weren't able to do interviews, but we were able to do a survey on SurveyMonkey. It was successful because we got over 100 response. As for the questionnaires, there's some of the questions were what is your reaction to extending CNE? How innovating is extending CNE? Thinking about extending CNE, is that something you need or something you want? Around 60% of people responding that extending CNE is something we need. Now I'm gonna pass it on to Princess. She's gonna talk about the secondary research.
So on our secondary research, employees have shared more about on their opinions, experiences, and how they couldn't get enough opportunities in a small period of time. This information is built on qualitative research that shows concern with how both employees and attendees felt and thought about the concerned problem. If you can see the picture at the bottom, some people think that due to COVID-19, extending CNE wasn't necessary or essential to visit. However, if pandemic is not happening right now, they agreed and love to extend CNE since the time frame wasn't enough for some people who are out of the country or town. To be continued on our secondary research, here is one short video shows how employees experience and treated in CNE. Do you guys hear it?
Can't hear. The volume is off on. Play it on YouTube. Hit YouTube.
Yeah. Are you able to see it, sis? Or no?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
I can see it. I just can't hear it.
Can't hear it. Let me see.
on the bottom there. There's the volume on the bottom.
At the bar.
Right there. Up, it's on. Okay, show it in YouTube then. Open up YouTube and show it in YouTube.
Okay, just give me a second.
Maybe you want to double click it.
No, go slideshow again and hit the. See where it says YouTube. Hit, just play it again.
Share your screen, Jocelyn. Jess?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you can share the screen. I'll just gonna explain it. If you can.
Just 1 second. I was trying to open it.
It's okay. You guys, you can just share the screen and explain it. That's fine.
Yeah. I don't know why it's taking so.
So the video is basically talk about how bad the employees experience. Like they didn't get enough break and food. In addition to that, on 2018, in the CP24 news, the CEO of Canadian National Exhibition says they lost $1.5 million for 2 days, where attendees were impacted by the heavy rain, which the link will be on our references list. By having said, Canadian National Exhibition revenue decreased by that time. Therefore, as a result, this research and collected reviews help us build a better and strong understanding of what participants' perspective and with the problem and how we could get our answer through our questions. Moving on, the tools we use in our research is SurveyMonkey, where we conducted our primary research by posting a 8-question survey. And for secondary research, we researched for reviews online through the official CNE website and other Toronto touring site that had reviews about CNE. We also conducted a few interviews with some people working in the hospitality industry and a few from the Humber community to get better understanding and more insight into how people from various age groups respond to extending the length of CNE. Moving forward, therefore, we recommend to extend the frame of the CNE to attract more tourists and locals and gives attendants more time to explore the CNE with their loved ones. We also advise to advertise on social platforms more like on television and radio to attract people of all age. And lastly, since 60% of the respondents indicate that an extension is appropriate, therefore we recommend to extend the CNE, and this will not only benefit the CNE as they would have an increase in revenue, but also increase person attending the expo. And here's our references list. And thank you for listening. Does any have any questions?
Great, thank you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, too bad you weren't able to show the video.
Yeah, we are very sorry about that.
So this can happen sometimes using technology. So thank you for the presentation. So you guys, how did you come up with the main problem again?
Tian, what do you want?
Oh, sorry. We actually went on the internet.
And so you found it where, I guess, if the question is.
It was some comments I was reading on the internet. Some reviews actually.
Oh, through reviews. Google reviews or Facebook reviews or?
It was on the internet. It was like under the CNE thing.
It's actually on the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Go to secondary data research on the top. So it says cons.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Do you have any questions of me?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we've come to our last group, which is Vanessa, Talia, and Max. If you guys can start getting ready, that'd be super. Thank you. Is Vanessa, Talia, and Max online? Their time isn't till 10:20.
Everyone, I just messaged Vanessa now. It's Kyla. She said that they're coming on right now.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, hello. Okay.
Hi, Vanessa.
Sorry about that. Hi. Okay.
Take your
I'm
time.
gonna,
About 10 minutes. But, just get ready, share your screen, and when you're ready, just let us know.
okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay. I'm just gonna, can you see that?
We can, yes, thank you.
Yeah? Okay, awesome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'm late or early, or I just saw Vanessa's message. She's like, he's calling us. I'm like, okay, cool, gotta go. So I left the breakfast table. So my apologies.
It's okay.
Okay, so, yeah, I think we're ready to go, if that's okay.
Yeah, is everybody sharing their screen? Let's see. Make sure that when you're presenting that you are sharing your video, and that meaning yourself, and then also when you're not presenting, turn off your mic. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Got it. So can you see, we're sharing the video and I'm sharing my screen so you can see both of us
I can see.
and the PowerPoint?
I can see you. One second. And I can see Talia. Okay, yeah, I can see both of you now. Very good.
Okay, awesome. So we're ready to go. It's just the two of us today, like last time. So are we okay to start?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So for our research presentation today, we will be covering the Toronto Caribbean Carnival. So we went into more in depth and asked some questions to disprove our hypothesis. So we're going to be getting further into that. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Talia, you're muted.
All right, and so my apologies for that. All right, so our agenda for today will simply be, we will go through our research question, discuss what consisted of our secondary research as well as our primary research. We will go through our data analysis, our conclusions, and our recommendations.
Alrighty, so our research question that we decided to go further into revolved how does the lack of funding for Toronto Caribbean Carnival hinder the festival? So our research takes a further look at discovering the answer to that question.
And so our secondary research consisted of taking a look at Toronto economics impact studies, as well as new articles and interviews from past and current sitting members of the Toronto Caribbean Carnival Committee and the Caribbean community. And really, we wanted insight from those who actually have a hand in this festival. And originally we did have that source as we discussed during our coaching session. However, once everything escalated with the pandemic, that ceased to exist, but we relied heavily on our research. And really what we looked at is the fact that the overall economic impact annually from the Toronto Caribbean Carnival is roughly $438 million a year. A vast majority of that goes into hospitality, recreation, and transportation. So you can see our figures. We have about 109 million in restaurant and bar sales, just over 101 million for hotels and accommodations, about 60 plus million for recreational activities and clothing sales, 33 million transportation. Festival generates about 6,800 jobs in the GTA. Local attendees can spend anywhere from $300 to $600, while out-of-town attendees and those who come in internationally might spend $900 on the day of the Grand Parade in itself. So it generates quite a lot of money.
All right, so for our primary research, we broke it down into three. So we analyzed our research through SurveyMonkey. So we put our data, our surveys onto SurveyMonkey, and then we distributed it with our family and friends. So then our family and friends distributed to further acquaintances, and then we also posted it onto our social media channels like Instagram and Facebook. And then our data analysis was put into our graphs and charts, which we'll be diving into further. As we discussed during our coaching session, we did have more plans of qualitative research, but because of the COVID-19 situation, the only thing that we could do was SurveyMonkey. So to go into our next part now, for the rest of our presentation, we'll be analyzing on a question by question basis with our graphs and charts of what we found to, again, prove or disprove the research question that we proposed earlier.
So the first thing we want to take a look at was the demographic of our sample size. And first question we asked was, do you identify as male, female, or prefer not to say for those who don't like to disclose? We found that 9 or 22.5% were male. We had 30 or 75% female, and 1 person, which made up the last 2.5%, preferred not to say.
So for question number 2, what age group do you fall under? So we separated it into, again, the age groups and different demographics so we can get a feel for our age groups. Again, we suspected more Generation Z, which was proved by our test results, and not as many boomers. So as you can see, 24 were in the 18 to 25, 4 were in the 26 to 35, 1 was in the 36 to 45, 5 within the 46 to 55, 5 within the 55 to 65 range, and then 1 with the 66 plus range.
All right, and our third question, we really wanted to understand not only who was attending, what their age was, but do they regularly attend the festival? Have they not attended the festival, or have they just attended as a one-off? And from this, we discovered that 18 people said yes, that they have attended. 10 people said that they have attended, that they do in fact attend regularly, and 12 said no, that they had not attended. And this was the first starting point for us to really tap into see, like, why haven't you attended this festival? Pulls in a lot of money, but we want to get that sample size from those who do not contribute as well.
All right, so for the next question, for question 4, it was an elaboration of our previous question. So if you answered no to the question above, why? So out of the 12 people gave us the actual feedback. So we provide them with the opportunity to write in their feedback. So a lot of it wasn't necessarily overcrowding, like we assumed it was at first. It was more so they just never had the time, or they never had the chance to attend, or like the money to go. So again, this is where we learned that it didn't necessarily stem from overcrowding, but we haven't gotten to the funding just yet, but that at least proves that.
All right, and then we wanted to know, how far would someone be coming to attend this festival? So that's why question number 5 is, how far would you or have you traveled to attend the Toronto Caribbean Carnival? 24 come from within the GTA, which is to be expected. It's the Toronto Caribbean Carnival. We have a large Caribbean community within the GTA and outside, which is why we see that there's 12 people said that they would travel from outside, and 5 would even come from another country. And this lets us know that our pool is diversified and that it attracts people from all demographics and areas and geographics.
All right, so our next question was, again, diving deeper, have you or would you attend the Toronto Caribbean Carnival as the following? So we wanted to specify our demographics. So like if you did attend, how do you attend? So 13 were masqueraders, 25 were spectators, 3 were vendors, 5 were event organizers, 8 were volunteers, and 1 was first responder. So again, it allowed us to determine the reason rather than the role that they would play in participating in the festival. And then it would kind of help us narrow down a little bit more financially how much each of these people would contribute to the festival.
All right, and question number 7 was, have you or would you obtain any of the following services? Our secondary research showed us that the vast amount of money contributed to the economic impact was through hospitality, recreation, and transportation. So this allowed us to see where people would really spend their money and that kind of thing. So 6 people said that they would use rental car services, 8 people said that they would rent hotel rooms, 10 people would rent an Airbnb, 19 people would purchase transit passes to allow them to commute, and then 9 people said that they would use all of the above. And depending when these people booked, how many people they were looking for in their group, this will determine the size and the contribution to the economic impact.
So our next question, we went into overall, how much have you or would you spend during the course of the Toronto Caribbean Carnival? So again, another question to further dive into funding, but also how much people spend on their own. So 24 people spend between $100 and $300, 8 between $300 and $600, 6 between $600 and $900, and 2 with $900 or more. So again, depending on the role of the participant, the prices in terms of how much you would spend will vary. And yeah, even though our sample size only reflects 50% of our total subjects, but it was still able to support our research.
All right, and question number 9 was, are you aware that there is more than just the Grand Parade, example, Kings and Queens Showcase, Kitty's Carnival, and such? And the reason why we asked this is because our research suggested, and based on interviews, that there's inadequate promotion, that organizers and promoters, they're not able to reach different demographics because lack of funding. And so we really want to test that theory and see, is it true? Like, are you people aware? 27 or 35% said yes, they were, while 13 people said that they weren't. And we were able to then see, like, okay, this was when we kind of got the ball rolling. It's like, okay, is this something that needs to be changed?
So our next question was going into, do you believe that there's negative perception of the Toronto Caribbean Carnival? So just kind of tapping into people's mindsets and asking that question straight out. So it was close-ended. It was meant to be thought-provoking and prepare our respondents for the final question that we have coming up. So with this question, 14 people said yes, 8 said no, and 19 said sometimes.
And this was our last and final question after thought-provoking was, do you believe that if the Toronto Caribbean Carnival were to receive more funding, it could help broaden the public's understanding of the Caribbean heritage and improve the public perception of the Caribbean community? And 33 people said yes, and we asked them to explain how. And 5 people said no, and we asked them, well, why not? And looking at this, research supported this, that people believe that a change needs to come about, that money is truly the root of the problem. And so we delved further into this.
All right. So for our conclusions, though many people though many people continue to support the Toronto Caribbean Carnival, many do believe that it's fallen from grace after being turned over to the Toronto Festival Committee. So with that being said, with our question, how does the lack of funding affect the festival? The lack of funding, because it was given to the Toronto Festival Committee, now funding is not too much funding is going into it. So 84.6 of our respondents believe that additional funding could help enhance the Toronto Caribbean Carnival experience. And then they actually provided, well, we broke down the input that they given us and came up with the recommendation. So this is what was said.
And yes, like Vanessa said, so we broke it down for our recommendations, really because we received over 33 long-ended responses. So this is point where people express their opinions, which is why it's an open-ended question. The first being positive ad campaigns that celebrate and highlight the excellence of Caribbean heritage from the past to the present, and also what we project for the future. Community outreach programs, so you reach out within your communities that are in the GTA area, as well as around the world, to let them know what happens in the city of Toronto annually, why it's vibrant, why it's welcoming, a safe place for them to come. Cultural artifact showcases of Caribbean heritage for the public to take part in, because in order to have a true enriching experience, you need to feel, you need to understand, and that allows people again to see what makes up Caribbean heritage. And then lastly, when it comes to funding, direct some of the total economic impact, at least 0.3 to 0.5%. So you're looking at least $500,000 to at least $1 million of the total economic impact back to the festival committee, because again, this festival brings in over $500 million, almost $500 million annually, yet they receive less than that in funding. And we believe that with the additional funding and support, we can help bridge all these umbrellas together.
All right, so thank you very much. So that was a summary of our research. Do you have any questions for us?
Great, thank you guys. Thank you very much. So yeah, so obviously, have you guys participated in the festival before?
Yeah.
I have only been a spectator, so I came at it from the spectator perspective.
And I've been a masquerader, so I've had a full costume and everything, and a spectator, so.
And so I understand it's been canceled this year?
Yes, really sad about it. Caravan is canceled, summer has been canceled. I'm so sad.
TIP still hasn't decided if they are canceling other events, but events are dropping by the wayside as time goes on because of this COVID.
I know. It's really unfortunate.
Thank you for the, you have a passion for this one, which is great. It's always good. It comes across in your presentation. Also, I have a couple of questions. I think your recommendations and conclusions are good ones because you combine both the quantitative, as well as primary and secondary data to come up with those recommendations. What would you say was the main source that kind of drew you to your recommendations, and how did you do that?
Sorry. Do you want to? Okay, you go.
Okay. The reason why I jumped at it is basically because I spent hours poring over this, and really, I live in the kind of like almost a divide where some people be like, funding's not the problem, and some believe that funding is the problem. And seeing that, I really poured through and combed through. People just believe that by turning over to different hands, as I've heard growing up, it really spoiled the festival. And I realized that bias was kind of inside my head growing up hearing it. So I wanted to put that aside and open it up to the public, and seeing that more than 33% of people, they believed and, had their own passions and everything. And then also seeing like our way of thinking of how it can change might not necessarily be the greatest, because I am of Caribbean heritage, and, I know the lineage and the history, which is the great thing about having non-Caribbean folk as well as non-attendees given their input as well. So it's nice to see that even those who haven't attended believe that the festival has fallen from grace, and they wanted to see it change.
And for me personally, pretty much the same thing. Growing up, I've always gone and kind of just seen the transition, but also like a couple years back, joining as a masquerader really changed the experience for me. But it was also a lot more money, but then also more overcrowded. So it kind of, for me personally, it was like, okay, so is it, going from Scotiabank and then going to the festival committee and going back and forth, made me wonder as well, how is the funding affecting this? Is it making it overcrowded? Is it like the social media? Is it the marketing? What is it? So it kind of combined together, and that's why we decided to go about it like that.
Okay, great. And at the end of the day, do you think they're going to be able to get more funding?
Honestly, not quite sure. I feel like they're in the works for it, but maybe like say if there's enough evidence to prove that, yeah, more funding would mean this, like say less overcrowding, more resources, more money towards the hospitality industry, because as we've found out with our research, it has a huge impact on the hospitality industry, especially given that like when you attend it, you book hotels, you book Airbnbs, you book rental cars, all of that. So if more funding goes to that, then more resources are available. But so I feel like there's change in the future, but not in the near future. I feel like we're still a long way from getting there.
And if I could add on, really what my uncle had said to me growing up in the business world, he's like, if you're going to ask someone for money, you need to show them the reasons why. And I believe that this research, though it's not the largest size in pool, it can start a conversation. And as much as we might want to scream and shout and say things are not fair, but we're in the business world, you need to start with a conversation, and you need facts to back it up. So if that conversation started, with sound research and data, then that's a great place to first start to change it for the future generations.
What was your sample size?
So ultimately, we had 81. And I know when we initially sat down with you through our coaching session, you said if we wanted to use our own SurveyMonkey account, that's fine. Just make sure we have access to unlimited questions and everything. So we went through double check, triple check. And then when we went into analyzing the data, we were met with the red flag. And I called customer service, and they said, so if you want to access your full data, you have to pay a membership fee. And I said that wasn't disclosed beforehand. And I even read them the fine prints and everything. And the gentleman who was there, and he's like, oh, is everything okay? He offered to give me access to it. And I said, no, I need like full actual proof and everything, which is why we only could work with 50% of our responses.
Yeah. They wanted us to pay for over $1,000 in a subscription, so it wasn't misunderstood. So we met a roadblock in our research for sure.
That's too bad. I mean, you thought you were going to make it easier for you, but it didn't at the end of the day.
It didn't, yeah.
Because when it's advertised as $27 a month, I said, guys, sign up. After the month, we can cut this subscription. And then as we go in, and he's like, yeah, so if you have 81 responses. I said, oh, wow, that's great. He's like, if you want full access to all 81 of your responses, you have to pay the fee. I'm like, okay, what's the fee? 27? I'll give you my card right now. And he said, no, it'd be 1,400.
Yeah.
4,000. I was like, no.
That's too bad. I mean, the one that we purchased through the school would have given you that access. So that's
yeah.
Okay. So everybody, thank you very much. Do you have any questions of me?
No, it was just references. That was pretty much it.
So you can stop sharing right now.
Oh, sorry. Okay, 1 second. And I'll stop sharing, and then I'll mute myself. Okay.
Yeah. So hi everybody. So thank you very much for all the great presentations. Um, some of you did a really fabulous job of telling a very good story and explaining your information. What I'm going to do is take a couple of minutes. So I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to review my notes, and then I'll come back and let you know who I thought won our overall competition here. Okay? So I'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. It's Colin. Muted everybody. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to say great job, everybody. I've been silently sitting in the background, listening and watching, and very impressed with the work that you guys have done and the final outputs. So congratulations.
Thank you, Colin.
You're almost done.
Thank you.
I would know guys in class as well last week, but obviously that can't happen. So you'll be getting an email from me probably later today, just with some final thoughts as you finish up your semester. Does anybody have any burning questions while Ron's tabulating or doing whatever he's doing?
Hello, everybody. I'm back.
Welcome back.
So once again, thank you, everybody, for some great presentations, and thank you, Colin, for your feedback to everyone. Yeah, I am too always pleasantly impressed when we get to the end of this process every year and seeing how you advance your skills in doing research and applying the methodologies that you've used both qualitatively and quantitatively, and then drawing conclusions from your surveys. Obviously, this year we had a challenge with the pandemic, and we weren't able to do possibly other forms of qualitative research that would have actually added more meaning to some of your recommendations, but that is fine. I took that under consideration, and we'll take that into consideration when marking, not to worry. Also, how did you find using Zoom?
I personally liked Zoom. If no one else is going to hop in, I think it worked well. I know that there was some privacy breaches and some things going on that were in the media, but I mean, I think it was great. I used it with my group to also have group meetings. Previously, we were using Instagram chat, and Instagram chat isn't friendly to anyone's phone battery, so it worked well. I enjoyed it.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I thought it was really good too, except it kept cutting our time short, and I don't know what.
Yeah, we don't have a subscription.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
That's
So with
weird,
the would have been better. Subscription.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I wasn't sure if maybe it was a glitch, but for me personally, I've been able to use Zoom for like hours. Like if I need to like contact family or whatever the case may be, like it hasn't. I don't know if it was a glitch and they haven't noticed that I don't have a subscription, but like it's been working, and I like it for classes, especially the screen share. It's my favorite feature.
For sure. The first time our group did like a Zoom call, I think we were on it for like maybe like 6 hours, 7 hours, and we had like no interruption, like anything bothering us. But after that day, it's just always been giving me like that 40-minute time limit, which like it doesn't really affect us because it does affect us, but we just have to constantly create new meetings, which is fine because we get the work done. But I think I probably just used whatever time I had. Like they probably give you a certain amount of like free hours, and I just so happened to have 7 hours already used. So I think that's why.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, there's another way that we could do this in the future, and that is through Qualtrics. But Qualtrics is a standard license I'm not sure we have access to. I have to find that out. It would provide even more granular analysis tools for you guys to do filters and other things. But I appreciated everybody's efforts, and I'm looking forward to reviewing the reports, and we'll get the marks out as quickly as I can. It takes a bit of time to go through them, but I will do that as fast as I can, hopefully by the end of the weekend. But I'm going to announce who I thought was the winner today. So the winner today was our first group, the group of Kyla, Alice, and Heather. So congratulations, guys.
Thank you so much, Ron.
Thank
We
you,
really
Ron.
enjoyed doing this project.
Yay!
I thought you did a good job. Not that everybody else did a good job as well, but I just thought overall you presented well. You were well rehearsed. A lot of people were well rehearsed, but you were well rehearsed. Used good graphics to explain your story. I like that you used a persona. Other groups also used a persona, but I think you did a good job of reflecting who your main target was and what that meant to that persona. And you told an excellent story, and you bridged the gap between the research and your recommendations. So overall, when you're doing a research presentation, it's not the same, everybody here, it's not the same as doing a report. It's really telling a great story. I think our guest speaker, Joe Amati, was explaining that, to taking the insights and gleaning a story from those insights. In addition, I thought the LinkedIn video training that I shared with you guys on how to tell a story through personas and journey maps. So I think one group used a journey map on the customer experience, which is excellent. It is a really great way to tell a story as well with research. And research can be, extremely boring to listen to unless you create a story. And one of the companies that I've worked for is TNS Research, which is now owned by Kantar. Used to be called Canadian Facts before that. They're a global research company. And they actually gave us ongoing training on how to tell stories when doing a research and explaining a research study to our clients. And being able to tell the right story in a very concise and effective manner. And usually, you don't want to do a research presentation more than 15 minutes because most of the people that you're presenting it to are usually executives, the board of directors, and they don't have time to listen to hours of research data and information. So it's always great if you can tell a great story, and that's what we did. So once again, I want to congratulate everybody for a great effort. And too bad our time together was cut short. We weren't able to spend it in class. But luckily, we were able to transfer this into a meaningful experience and to complete the course through the efforts of Zoom and our Blackboard and everything that we did throughout the semester. So thank you, everyone. Colin, do you
I
want
actually have to hand it to you, Ron, that you were one of the most involved professors through this process, and I'm really thankful for that because you still, took great interest in having our learning first and foremost, and I just wanted to thank you for that, and actually having, in-class sessions with us was really good too, so thank you.
Great, thank you. And is there any, did you like the coaching sessions? Were they helpful?
For sure.
Absolutely. Coaching sessions are always a great way to go.
Great. I'll turn off my phone. Colin, do you have anything else you want to add at the end here?
Actually, I chimed in when you were, and there's my phone. I chimed in while you were offline there for a bit and spoke to everybody, so I'm good.
Excellent. Now, so all of you can, if you would like, you can share your information with the organizers of each event. Sometimes they're really appreciative of that. In addition, you can, if you think it's worthy, you can publish some of your research which is helpful for you in your career. And then lastly, you should put this on your resume because it helps you. When employers are looking for people, they look for people that can take information, transfer that into recommendations, not just how I feel, for example, and actually using that in an effective way when you're in your work world, in your work environment overall. Okay. So thank you, everybody. Have a terrific summer and a great career. I guess is the end of your program, correct?
Oh my God, yeah, I just realized that.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Tomorrow's our last day.
Is this your last class or just your last
Oh,
day?
tomorrow, entrepreneurship.
Ah, very good.
Mm-hmm.
I wish you all the best and reach out if you want any recommendations or whatever in the future.
Thank you, Ron, so much.
Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Ron.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.